Hello and welcome to TEC Bike Parts. Today we're going to be showing you how to install a new Tail Tidy kit to the Royal Enfield Meteor. We've designed this so it will utilise the standard rear number plate light and standard rear indicators. But we've also came up with a design where you can actually take the mountings for those off the Tail Tidy, so you don't have to reuse the standard indicators or the reflector. They can be mounted elsewhere if you want on the bike for an even cleaner look. And we will be making a full lighting kit that includes LED indicators, all the wiring converters plug-in, as well as the Tail Tidy kit. Now the fitting instructions are basically the same. There's just one or two slight wiring changes that you need to make if you're not fitting the rear indicators and you're fitting the aftermarket LED kit. Now there's no drilling or cutting involved with this. Everything is reversible, which I know this is what people want. And if you want to put it all back to standard, you can easily do that, particularly if you want to sell the bike or whatever. So you haven't got any worries on that part. Everything is easily fitted with basic hand tools, nothing special required. Just some basic metric spanners and Allen keys, and maybe a pair of pliers and a Phillips screwdriver, and that is about it really. There's nothing exotic involved in it at all. It's a fairly straightforward process. There's one or two things to watch out for, as we'll show you in this video. So I'll show you what comes in the kits before we start installing it and explain a bit what's what. So these are the parts that are included in the basic kit. You've got your main mounting plate, you've got the indicator mounting plate. Now your standard number plate mounts on here, and if you're using the standard indicators, this bracket is actually fixed through with the number plate light. Now we also make a bracket that's multi-adjustable for the rear reflector. As you can see on these multi and slotted holes, this can mount at various different heights, so you can get the reflector tucked up right underneath the number plate no matter what size it is, because people tend to use various different sizes, and in different countries there's different regulations for plate size. Now these plates are made out of 2.5 thick high quality aluminium and steel, all laser cut and highly accurate. You also get 3 longer bolts for mounting the rear light back on, because obviously it's sandwiched with this in between, so you need some extra distance. A cable tie for the wiring, 3 heat shrink sleeves for the connectors to protect them, and 2 self-adhesive packing rubber spacers, and I'll explain what they're for when we do the fitting. Right, so that's the basic kit, and if that's all you're fitting, that's all you need to know about. So this is the full kit of extra parts that you get if you're buying the whole lighting kit, which includes the Tail Tidy and the indicators. Now these are all the parts you get in the kit. You get a plug-and-play rear wiring adapter kit. Now this allows you to use any aftermarket light that uses a bullet type connector, but it also has, interestingly, an extra stop and tail and earth connection in it that it would allow you to use a side number plate or a different rear lamp, an accessory rear lamp. Now these are available separately if you want to just do that, but they're included in the kit. You also get an extended number plate wire, so you can adapt the standard number plate lamp to fit in and plug straight into this harness. You get a pair of wiring adapters for your front lights. You get a pair of rear mountings that fit for the rear lamps. Now if your bike has a backrest on, a standard Royal Enfield backrest, saying it's a Stella or Interstellar, you will need to just let us know, and we will add a pair of spacers and bolts to space them out to allow for them fitting with the backrest mounting. You're supplied with a pair of front indicator adapter mountings, because the lamps on the Meteor actually use a 2-hole mounting. So we supply these lamps with the nut and bolt to fix them. Now these adapters are actually very handy, because you can use them to fit any accessory lamp to the Meteor, and they'll work with 10 and 12mm indicators. Now, these are our hammer indicator lamps, all aluminium, E-marked, really bright, and they actually really suit the Meteor, I think. But you know, we're aware that other people want different things, so the kit can be supplied with almost any one of the lamps that we do. This is a very popular one we do. It's called a slug. Now, these are available in black or in chrome. Again, a popular one that we do is the torpedo, and again that is available in chrome. Now, if you're wanting a smaller light, we do our fuse lamp. We've done this for quite a while now, and it's a really popular lamp. Again, everything we do is all metal construction, and it's all E-marked, so you have no legality problems with brightness or when it comes to a timeboat test. I know that's a big issue with a lot of the European customers, because the bike won't go through a test if it hasn't got E-marking on the lamps. And this is another new small lamp, again all aluminium, really neat. It's like a mini version of the hammer, and all the options for all the different lamps, they're all slightly different price because the lamps are different prices, and you can do that on the drop down menu on the website when you order it. Now, also included in the kit is a pair of compensating resistors. Now, as these lamps are much lower wattage than the standard lamps, you get what's called hyper flash. The blinkers will flash very quickly, and these simply plug in to this wire in here under the seat, and it compensates for the lack of wattage. It basically puts an extra load on the circuit, and that's about it. So we'll show you how to fit the basic kit and the full kit now. So the first thing you need to do is remove the seat. Now, if you've got the backrest on, you need to remove all 4 of these bolts, but just the 2 front ones if you don't have the backrest fitted. Now, you simply lift it up at the front and it's actually hooked in at the back. You just slide the hook off. Now, that's all you need to do if you're just fitting the tail tidy, but if you're fitting the full lighting kit, you will also need to remove these 2 bolts and lift the front seat out. It just pulls out to the rear. So next you need to remove the number plate mounting bracket. Now, it's held in by 4 5.5mm Allen headed screws, stepped screws, one each side and 2 higher up here. It's a bit difficult for me to get my hand in and see in video at the same time, but you'll see there's 2 at the bottom and 2 at the top. So you need to remove those. So once you've removed your 4 bolts, you just drop the number plate bracket down, and you'll see these 3 coloured connectors here. You simply squeeze them and pull them apart. And then you can remove the full assembly. Next, with a 10mm socket or spanner, if you feel under the rear lamp, you'll feel 3 10mm headed bolts. If you simply undo those, it will loosen the rear lamp. And when you remove the bolts, make sure that you catch the top hat type spacer with the rubber on. Make sure they don't roll away, because they do tend to stick or drop off. So there's 3 of those to take off. So once you have the rear lamp loose, you need to reach under the mudguard, and you'll find there's a couple of metal clips hold the wire into the mudguard. If you just pull down gently on those, it will release the cable. Now, this cable now needs to be fed up through the hole where the number plate light is. It's easy if you do one connector at a time. It stops it getting jammed. Now, what you also need to do is pass these 3 connectors through the centre hole for the wire in the rubber. and just pull that through as much as it'll come. That's about as far as it comes down to there. Now, to prevent the wires being crushed when we tighten the lamp up, we're going to fix 2 packing rubbers either side of this rubber that are included in the kit. So just make sure the rubber at this point is clean and dry. Now the 2 little packing pieces that are included in the kit, if you with the 3M tape on, you just peel off the protector part of the tape and put it against the side, down against this sort of bottom edge there, right at the side against this hole. Now, effectively what these do is prevent this wiring getting crushed when you put the tail tidy in. These are very non-deformable neoprene rubber, and they'll stop that wiring getting crushed. And as you can see, once the plate's on there, it can't squash that wire. So what we need to do now is remove the parts we require from the factory number plate mounting. So we need to remove the indicators first anyway, regardless. So you simply remove this nut, and same for the other side. Once you've loosened the nut, if you just feed these connectors through this rubber holder, and then one at a time through the hole, and you can take the indicators off the bike. Now, when these are new, they normally have stickers on the bottom of the indicators, which is handy for identifying the left and right. But if not, make sure you identify by the colour coding which side is which. So your green one is on the right hand side. And then just feed those through. Now this hole's D-shaped, so you may need to twist the connector to get it come through. And then you need to remove that bracket so you've got access to these 2 screws here. So now you need to remove the 2 screws holding the factory number plate lamp onto the bracket. You also need to remove these 3 bolts, because you're going to be reusing 2 of them. And you also need to remove the reflector if you want to fit it onto the mounting bracket. So we need to fit the original equipment number plate light in through this hole. Now this is where you have an option. If you're fitting the standard indicators back on, you'll need to fit this bracket. Now the wire goes through the centre hole. Now, very important, if you look at the bracket, it has a straight edge and it has a stepped edge. Now, this straight edge must go to the top, otherwise the indicator angle will be wrong. And you just line your holes up and put the original screws back in. Now, if you're not fitting the original indicators, obviously you don't fit this bracket, you simply just fit the number plate light. So the next thing we need to fit is the indicator lamps, remembering that the sticker goes to the bottom. Now the D-shaped hole is the one that the connector goes through. So once you've got everything on and fastened up, you've obviously got your 3 wires here now. Just have a quick look, make sure everything is straight and lined up as you would like, because we have allowed a little bit of slot on these holes to allow you to get it centralised and adjusted if need be. Now what you need to do now is put the 3 heat shrink sleeves over each one of these cables. We're not shrinking them just yet, it's handy so you don't forget them at a later stage. Now the only wiring difference if you're fitting the full kit is you obviously won't have the indicators, you'll only have this connector here. Now in the full kit you will have a wire that plugs into there. Now what you do is that you identify the black wire in that plug and you plug the black connector in and the red one to the coloured one on the other side. Now what you simply do then is you just heat shrink this over to seal that up to stop any water getting in, and that's the only difference. But you don't do that if you just fit in the standard lamps but you need that to plug into the aftermarket wiring connectors that we use. So the next stage is, if you're going to put the reflector on, you can mount this now or you can mount this later. It may be easier to mount it later, because what you'll find is you'll want to get this up as high as you possibly can against the number plate. So this allows you to get it in the right position. And you could even bolt it straight through the number plate, because it's a 10mm hole. So you've always got that option. It's very sort of adaptable, this. You could also, depending on the angle of your plate, bend this so it's pointing downward a bit more. On the angle of the plate, once you try this in, if you find that you want the plate at a tighter angle, you can simply put it in a vise and bend it at this point to get it where you want to be. Ideally, you don't want the plate so it's rubbing against the mudguard, but you could, if you wanted it that far down to have it as upright as possible, you could just put a little pad against the mudguard to stop it rubbing. But that's basically ready to fit on the bike there now. So now, if you take the 3 longer bolts, 6 longer bolts that are in the kit, to replace the hex head bolts that go through the stepped spacers with the rubber washers, and use the 3 new ones through there. Now these obviously go in from the bottom. What you need to do with this slot here, the wire with the 3 connectors needs to go below the plate, and you place the tail light wiring up over the slot like that. Make sure that wiring is between those 2 spacer rubbers that we put in, and get your holes roughly lined up there. Push your lamp wiring through. Now, you can, if you get underneath, you can get one of your screws through into the rear lamp, just to hold everything in place. Just make sure that your wiring is between those two buffer strips. And fit your other 2 bolts and tighten those up. Once you're happy it's in the correct place and you've fully tightened the bolts for the lamp up, you can now connect your wiring up, obviously colour for colour, remembering that plugs are D-shaped. Plug them in till they click. Now you may want to try the lights first before you heat shrink them, but what I tend to do anyway is I only heat shrink them at the top, so it stops any water getting into them, and clip them up underneath the lamp so the bottom's open, so if anything moisture gets in there it can run back out again. But you can, if you want to, fully heat shrink them. It's just easier if you heat shrink them at the top only, you can actually get the plugs back out again without you're having to cut the heat shrink off. But like I say, it's good practice to just leave them like that for now until you've fully checked the wiring. Then you can tuck it up and cable tie them up. So depending on what size plate you've got and how you're going to mount it, you can have it right up tight against the number plate light, or you can have it further down. You can put these into the corresponding holes where they need to be, just leave them loose and slide it up and down. Like I say, if you want to have this more straight at right angles to the ground, you can simply, this bracket's aluminium, so if you're careful in a vise and put some cloth on it to stop it marking, you can just bend that to whichever angle you want. And then it's a simpler matter of marking and drilling your number plate. Obviously that's not the number plate I'll be using, but gives you an idea what it looks like. You have got a bit of play on these. If you loosen them, you can bend them up and down till you get them the angle that you like them. And it's simply a matter of just switching the ignition on and trying to make sure everything works. And that's it, all fitted. So that's it all fitted there now. You just need to clip your wires up on the metal clip underneath, make sure that they're clipped up tight out of the way, and refit your seat back on, and then that's all done. I will be doing a part 2 video of this to show the full lighting kit, the indicator kit that goes in conjunction with this, but we're still waiting on 1 or 2 little components on that. As soon as they're available, we'll do part 2 of the video, but part 1 there shows you how to fit the tail tidy, and these are available now. They're an original design by us, and they are fully design copyrighted, and details of the design copyright will be on the website, the design number, etc. So thanks for watching. Like I say, if you have a look on the web shop, they're available now. Any questions or comments, please get back to me, and we'll get the full lighting kits ready as soon as we have all the bits in stock. Thanks very much now. Bye.